On May 14, 2018, a routine flight from Chongqing to Lhasa turned into a harrowing ordeal that no one on board could have anticipated. Sichuan Airlines Flight 8633, a seemingly ordinary journey aboard an Airbus A319, was cruising calmly at 32,000 feet when disaster struck in the most unexpected way. Without warning, the cockpit windshield shattered, plunging the flight into chaos as the cabin rapidly decompressed, and the pilots faced a life-threatening emergency. With the crew and passengers grappling with a frightening new reality, every second counted as they raced against time to safely land the plane. In this gripping video, we unravel the intense drama of Flight 8633, revealing the high-stakes struggle that unfolded in the cockpit and the critical decisions made under extreme pressure. Buckle up as we delve into the heart of this dramatic aviation emergency and uncover the extraordinary moments that defined this near catastrophe. High above central China, Sichuan Airlines Flight 8633 had just reached its cruising altitude, climbing smoothly through the sky. The cockpit was a hub of calm professionalism, with 45-year-old Captain Liu Chuanxiang, a highly experienced former military pilot and flight instructor, at the helm. Beside him was First Officer Chu Rachel, a 27-year-old with 5 years of flying experience, 4 of them with Sichuan Airlines. The crew was flying an Airbus A319, a reliable aircraft from the Airbus A320 series. This model, slightly shorter and lighter than its counterparts, boasted 2 powerful engines that made it well suited for handling heavy loads, especially when departing from high-altitude airports where weight and balance are critical. With 119 passengers on board, many were catching up on lost sleep from an early morning departure. The flight, departing from Chongqing Airport, was set to be a 2-hour and 40-minute journey to Lhasa, nestled in the Himalayan mountains. As they approached the Tibetan Plateau, the largest and highest plateau on Earth, the altitude soared above 20,000 feet, adding to the complexity of their journey. The pilots were preparing for the demanding approach into Lhasa, known for its challenging landing conditions. Captain Liang Pong, the second in command, would assist with the high-altitude landing, a procedure requiring precise execution. The flight had 3 pilots on board to ensure safety and effectiveness in navigating the altitude. 6 minutes after reaching cruising altitude, Flight 8633 crossed into the Tibetan Plateau. The sky was clear, but the serenity was about to be shattered. Approximately 40 minutes into the flight, the windshield cracked. As First Officer Chu scrambled to find the checklist, the situation deteriorated rapidly. The crack, located on the inner pane of the windshield, posed a serious threat. It made the windshield vulnerable to shattering. The crew quickly determined that the safest course of action was to descend to a lower altitude and divert to a safe landing zone. Captain Liu took control of the radios, notifying air traffic control of the malfunction and requesting a descent. The urgency of the situation was palpable as the pilots maneuvered the aircraft to ensure a safe diversion to Chengdu. In a shocking turn, as the pilots began their descent, the cracked windshield exploded. The explosive decompression caused the first officer to be partially sucked out of the window, a terrifying and chaotic moment akin to having a bomb explode beside them, yet miraculously without causing physical harm. The crew's training and quick reactions were crucial in managing this perilous situation and ensuring the safety of everyone on board. In a heart-stopping moment of chaos, the situation unfolds with a palpable tension. As the aircraft hurtles toward the mountains, the intensity of the high-pressure environment versus the low-pressure area creates a perilous vacuum. Anything not securely fastened, including human beings, would be pulled toward the breach, making the stakes life-threatening. With the plane diving towards the rugged terrain, the first officer desperately clings to his seat. At 32,000 feet, a sudden jolt sends him crashing into the side stick, causing the aircraft to veer downwards and to the right. High in the sky, the plane is now at grave risk of crashing into the unforgiving mountains below. On the ground, air traffic control notices a sudden and alarming shift in altitude. Without time to process all the alarms flashing in the cockpit, the captain decides to revert to basic flying techniques. He manually takes control of the aircraft, focusing solely on maintaining a safe altitude amidst the blaring warnings. Captain Liu fights to regain control, leveling the plane, but battling against the dire effects of oxygen deprivation caused by rapid decompression. In the face of explosive decompression, hypoxia sets in, alarmingly fast. With his oxygen mask out of reach and his left hand fixed on the side stick, Liu is in a desperate struggle for survival. At 31,000 feet, time is critically short. The captain's consciousness is slipping away with each passing second, underscoring the lethal nature of the situation. Alone and with his first officer incapacitated, Liu realizes that a rapid descent is the only chance to save both himself and his passengers. The cockpit windshield suddenly shatters, intensifying the urgency of the crisis. Captain Liu makes a split-second decision to return to Chengdu Airport, maneuvering the Airbus into a sharp descending left turn. His movements push the aircraft beyond normal limits, a necessary risk to avoid the mountains and get to safety. As the pressure equalizes between the cabin and the outside air, an icy wind rushes in, complicating efforts to stabilize the situation. Despite the harsh conditions, extreme cold and high-pressure winds, the captain accelerates the plane's descent. With the first officer safely back inside, Liu focuses on reaching the airport, desperately signaling air traffic control about their emergency. A distress signal on the transponder alerts air traffic controllers to prioritize the flight. The controller reaches out to other pilots for assistance, trying to establish contact with the struggling aircraft. In this intense moment, every second counts as the captain fights to bring the plane and its passengers to safety amidst the dramatic backdrop of nature's fury. As the crisis deepened, the airwaves crackled with urgency. "This is Tibet 9832, check." Captain Liang's voice cut through the static. New control had just reached out, urgently calling them. Inside the cockpit pit's palpable. Captain Liang grabbed his electronic flight bag, a critical tool that offered a glimmer of hope amid chaos. This device, pivotal to their survival, held the escape routes they needed to navigate the treacherous mountainous terrain. It showed the routes that would allow them to descend to a safer altitude, a crucial factor given their precarious situation. With the aircraft cruising at an altitude of 23,700 feet, the captain's mind raced. "Give me a head with the navigation," he requested. "Copy," came the swift response. A tense silence followed. "Your mask," came the command, though the captain reassured, "I'm good for now. I can't let go of the controls." His grip remained firm as he guided the plane through the thin, cold air. As they neared the mountain's lower reaches, Captain Liang worked diligently to level off the aircraft. Speed was at 297 knots, and the cabin's oxygen systems were operational. With First Officer Xu unable to assist due to injury, Captain Liang took over all duties, carefully plotting their course. "Got the escape shot," he announced, maintaining his composure. He reviewed the charts for the safest route out, noting that Chengdu was 63 miles away. "Continue descent at 500 feet per minute, then level at 22,000 feet until we clear the mountains," he instructed. The second in command observed the captain's handling of the situation, ensuring they didn't descend too quickly. As the Airbus approached an altitude of 23,400 feet, relief was in sight. "You can do it," a voice encouraged. Yet, the harsh cold was a relentless foe, risking hypothermia despite the captain's bravery. With the airport still 60 miles away, every second counted. 12 minutes after the rapid decompression, Flight 8633 had cleared the towering Tibetan plateau. The airport was now just 34 miles away. "Getting there, Captain," came the supportive voice as Captain Liu turned the plane towards Chengdu. With the altitude at 20,900 feet, the plane had surpassed the mountains. The immediate concern was shifting to other critical issues. Do we communicate with air traffic control? Do we set up for landing? Captain Liu asked, fully engaged in the task at hand. Chengdu, Flight 8633, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. The distress call went out. The response was swift. Message received, Mayday declared. Instructions followed to descend to flight level 190, and controllers cleared the airspace around the damaged aircraft. In the cabin, flight attendants worked tirelessly to keep the passengers calm, distributing supplemental oxygen and ensuring safety. Despite their efforts, communication with the flight deck remained a challenge, leaving them unable to grasp the full scope of the emergency. Approaching 19,000 feet, the captain felt a slight improvement in breathing. "Roger, roger," he acknowledged. The crew's efforts were focused on managing the situation amidst the chaos of a cabin depressurization and rapid descent. Flight 8633 was now 28 miles from Chengdu, with the altitude approaching 19,000 feet. The captain's relief was tangible, but the situation remained dire. "Take an issue," he directed. Despite the ongoing noise from the missing window, which made communication with air traffic control nearly impossible, the pilots continued their approach. The flight's condition was assessed, window and control panel damage, with many instruments and systems showing warnings. With auto brakes, empty skits, and spoilers all compromised, manual landing became imperative. The aircraft, once highly automated, now required skilled manual handling. Captain Liang, undeterred by the extent of the damage, pressed on, focused on landing the aircraft safely. As the plane drew closer to Chengdu, the gravity of the situation was ever present, but so was the determination of the crew to overcome the crisis and guide the aircraft to safety. Captain Liu faces a tough decision. Re-engaging the disabled instruments could jeopardize the minimal control he currently has over the plane. He opts against it, demonstrating exceptional airmanship by working with what he has. In an emergency, the unknowns are numerous, and certainty is a luxury he cannot afford. Orbit to the right and descend to 8,800 feet on QNH 10.04 at your present position. You're clear to land on runway 02. The instructions come through. Flight 8633 executes a 360-degree turn to lose altitude as they prepare for the landing. With the aircraft still 11,200 feet up, the pilots confront another issue. They are significantly over their maximum landing weight, carrying an extra half-ton of unused fuel. An overweight landing on an Airbus 320, particularly when fuel cannot be dumped, necessitates extra caution. The pilots need to be meticulous to ensure a safe touchdown and be aware of the added challenge in stopping the plane. The team assesses whether deploying the flaps will help slow the plane. Flaps one set, they confirm, and the pilots check the results. The flaps are working, and the speed is good at 212 knots. Despite this, they must reduce engine power further to manage the situation. As the plane approaches, the cabin crew prepares for an emergency landing. "Attention everyone, please remove your masks," they instruct, and tuck your head in your lap and brace for impact. The landing gear is deployed, and the pilots hope it will engage properly. "Yes, let the gears down," comes the confirmation. With the runway clear, they receive their final landing instructions. Clear to land on runways 02 right, wind 25 degrees at 2 meters per second, RVR greater than 6,500 feet. Given the extra weight, the plane requires the full length of the runway. 10 miles from the airport, the aircraft lines up with the runway. The pilots now face the crucial moment. At 160 knots, can they keep the plane on the runway? The 63-ton plane approaches, preparing for touchdown. At 50 feet, then 40 feet, it gets closer to the runway. Engaging the thrust reversers should help slow the plane, but they aren't functioning. Without them, there's a risk of running off the end of the runway. Captain Liu relies on the foot brakes as his last hope. He applies them with everything he has to prevent overshooting. Finally, after a tense moment, the plane comes to a halt. "We made it," comes the relieved confirmation. The emergency services respond swiftly. "We have injuries on board. We cannot taxi to the gate," they report. Despite the challenges, all passengers and crew on Sichuan 8633 are safely back on the ground thanks to the pilot's extraordinary skills. Once everyone exits the aircraft safely, the real work begins, investigating the incident to uncover what led to this near catastrophe. Investigators from the Civil Aviation Administration of China, CAAC, and a French investigator from the Bureau of Air Accident Investigation and Analysis, BEA, start their examination. They aim to determine whether something struck the windshield of Flight 8633, causing it to rupture, and piece together the events of that fateful day. The unsettling noise that reverberated through the cockpit was unmistakable. A loud, jarring sound that was quickly followed by a prominent mesh-like crack spreading across the windshield. And mere seconds later, a second thunderous noise accompanied the crack's expansion, sending ripples through the already compromised pane. The distressing sight prompted a hasty touch to the glass, revealing it to be the inner pane, which was in poor condition. The cockpit windshield, a crucial structural component of the aircraft, comprises 3 layers of glass, 2 thick inner panes and 1 thin outer pane. These layers are designed to withstand significant impacts, including bird strikes and other potential hazards, due to their robust construction. Despite their strength, this particular windshield had succumbed to severe damage. The pilot immediately contacted Air Traffic Control, ATC, to report the cracked windshield and request a descent clearance. However, before the conversation could conclude, an alarming explosion occurred. The windshield shattered entirely due to a sudden decompression, resulting in the loss of several instruments. The inquiry into the incident revealed no evidence of an external impact. No marks or smears were present, only the ominous crack. Further investigation ruled out the possibility of a lightning strike or bird strike as the cause. The evidence indicated no prior damage to the windshield before the event. As the team disassembled the terminal block, a critical component located at the bottom of the windshield, which regulates temperature to prevent freezing or fogging, they focused on it due to its remaining presence in the windshield assembly. This block holds 6 electrical wires crucial for maintaining the windshield's operational integrity. While awaiting the terminal block's removal from the aircraft, investigators turned their attention to the flight's communication systems. They accessed ACARS, the Aircraft Communication Addressing and Reporting System, which transmits electronic messages between the aircraft and ground stations. This system could provide insights into the faults experienced and the aircraft's operational status. The investigation uncovered that shortly after the windshield first cracked, an anti-ice warning message was triggered. This alert indicated a potential issue with the heating element, but did not specify the exact cause of the cracking. This simultaneous occurrence of the warning and the crack prompted investigators to explore possible connections. A review of recent flights revealed a pattern. Similar anti-ice warnings had appeared in past incidents, including a Sichuan Airlines flight in 2009, a Jiangsu Airlines flight in the same year, and a China-Hubei flight in 2010. Each of these flights reported related issues, such as smoke or burning smells near the windshield, which were attributed to overheating. However, none of these incidents resulted in windshield cracking or rupture. The findings led the investigators to scrutinize the terminal block and other physical evidence from Sichuan Airlines Flight 8633's cockpit to uncover why this particular windshield had shattered. They were determined to identify what set this incident apart from others, hoping that the terminal block might provide crucial clues to explain the windshield's catastrophic failure. The investigators focused their attention on the wires linked to the windshield heating system. As they scrutinized the setup, it became evident that one of the wires was significantly more damaged than the others. The insulation on this particular wire was charred, and the copper beneath had melted, a clear sign of severe overheating. This damage was indicative of an electrical fault that had caused excessive heat, likely contributing to the failure of the windshield. Upon closer examination, the team discovered that corrosion inside the terminal block was another critical issue. Moisture buildup had led to corrosion, and they noted unusual discoloration within the block, which was abnormal. This moisture had seeped through the window seals, leading to damage of the copper wires. As the current flowed through these compromised wires, arcing occurred, creating extremely high temperatures. During this process, temperatures exceeded 400 degrees Celsius, which is incredibly hot. The question now was whether this overheating was sufficient to cause the windshield to crack. To answer this, the team delved into the aircraft's history, searching for connections between cracked windshields and overheating incidents. Their investigation revealed similar problems with the Airbus A340 in December 1997, and additional cases in 2001, 2004, 2007, and 2011. They identified 6 incidents involving cracked cockpit windshields, all resulting from overheating. In each case, the heat buildup inside the windshield could not dissipate, leading to cracks. The team concluded that an overheated electrical wire had cracked the inner pane of glass on the first officer's side. The aircraft's windshield panes were tightly spaced, and when one side was overheated, it exerted stress on the panes, causing them to crack. However, cracking alone was not sufficient to explain why the windshield in this particular case exploded. The failure of the middle pane, which should have maintained structural integrity, was unexpected and mysterious. To investigate further, the team conducted a windshield failure scenario test. Although the exact mechanism of the windshield's failure during flight was unknown due to the absence of the recovered windshield, the team replicated the conditions in a laboratory setting. They installed a cockpit windshield with a cracked inner pane onto a test bench and simulated the conditions experienced during the flight. The test setup involved pressurizing the chamber to match the differential pressure of Flight 8633. A small hole was drilled in the outer pane to allow a shock pin to strike the inner pane, simulating the effect of the second pane cracking. The test demonstrated that the pressure was too much for the windshield to handle. At an altitude of 32,000 feet, the pressure difference between the outside atmosphere and the cockpit was approximately 2 tons. Once the inner pane was compromised, the outer pane could not withstand the pressure and was pushed out, causing the windshield to blow clear of the frame. With this understanding, the investigators were able to determine how the windshield was blown off Flight 8633. However, they were still puzzled by the undetected moisture buildup inside the window. Moisture's insidious nature made it difficult to detect, raising questions about the inspection processes. The team knew that the left and right window seals had been replaced a year ago due to wind erosion, but they needed to examine how these seals had been inspected and whether the inspections were thorough enough to catch such issues. The inspection history of Flight 8633's windshields revealed that the last check had been conducted 32 days before the incident, with no signs of water buildup on the terminal block. Maintenance procedures required removing the entire windshield to access this area, but this was not done. The inspection focused on the seals and components for any evidence of water intrusion without fully disassembling the aircraft, thus leaving the possibility of water vapor buildup unexamined. Moreover, the investigation uncovered that there were no sensors to detect moisture, only temperature control sensors for the window. Without sensors to indicate corrosion, identifying the extent of moisture-related damage remained challenging. Although the root cause of the incident was understood, a crucial piece of the puzzle remained elusive: why so many systems in the cockpit failed after the windshield exploded. When the windshield ruptured, the cockpit door was violently flung open, striking the circuit breaker panel and causing numerous systems to fail. The team found that the disabled systems were linked to 17 circuit breakers located behind the first officer's seat. Damage to the breaker panel aligned with the dented cockpit door, revealing that the explosive decompression had caused the door to hit the panel and trip the breakers. The investigators finally pieced together the full story. Moisture had seeped into the window seals, creating a humid environment that led to electrical wires overheating and eventually cracking the cockpit windshield. The tremendous pressure differential compounded the thermal stress on the cracked panes, leading to the rupture and explosive decompression. Despite losing his first officer to the intense forces, Captain Liu demonstrated remarkable composure and skill. Operating under severe oxygen deprivation, he managed to navigate the damaged plane to safety. The crew's resilience in enduring extreme temperatures and their successful landing at Chengdu, saving all 128 people on board, was a testament to their bravery and professionalism. In the wake of the accident, the investigation served as a learning opportunity, prompting changes by the manufacturer to improve quality control and prevent similar incidents. The crew's exceptional handling of the crisis earned them worldwide acclaim, contrasting sharply with past accidents where crews, overwhelmed by the situation, failed to communicate effectively and crashed the aircraft. As we close the book on the dramatic events of Sichuan Airlines Flight 8633, we reflect on the extraordinary challenges faced by the crew and passengers during that terrifying flight. The swift and decisive actions taken under immense pressure remind us of the incredible resilience and skill of those in the cockpit and the unyielding spirit of survival that guided them through the crisis. Thank you for joining us on this intense journey. Your support means a lot, and we hope this video provided you with a deeper understanding of the complexities and dangers of aviation. If you have any thoughts, feedback, or suggestions, we'd love to hear from you. Please feel free to share your comments below and help us improve. We appreciate your understanding if there were any shortcomings in the presentation. Stay tuned for more gripping stories and insights from the world of aviation. Until next time, fly safe and take care.